when someone comes in and meets with us, we want to understand who they are.
What would you say is the number one secret, Brad, to the psychology of money?
So it's funny. I actually started talking a lot about this probably 10 years ago, as I realized that at that point I was 10 years into the business with working with clients. And, I came into this business like a lot of us do, really with the numerical data. I had to know all these numbers, these equations, how to invest and all these things, right? And what I found after about 10 years of doing it was a lot of clients' worries and a lot of our worries as humans really had a little bit less to do with the quantitative data. It had a lot more to do with the qualitative. And this is like the interest, the goals, the relationships, the values we all carry. And money, we all know, is just a tool, right? It is not the thing. It is just something that we use to do the things we want to do. And so what's interesting about a couple of years ago, in fact, the book Psychology of Money was written by a guy named Morgan Housel, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So it's interesting we're even titling that, because I don't know if you've read that book before, Brett, but it's an amazing book. I would recommend it for anybody and everybody. I've read it multiple times. And it's just a great example of, there's plenty of studies on psychology of money. This goes back, way back. I have plenty of books behind me on the psychology of money, but that one was so cool because it laid it out. He wrote it so well, in my opinion, with anecdotal evidence, stories, and just different things. And I think the number one thing that most people get wrong about money is that they actually think it has some metric in our life to do the things we want to do. And I've seen it time and time again with clients that if they obtain that theory, or whatever that money is, that monetary goal of theirs, which again is a great thing, we always tend to like move the goalposts. And we do that in our life as well. And I think it's important in financial advising that we talk about that, and just kind of, we start here at One Capital Management with a conversation of what's your why with a client. And we do that simply because when someone comes in and meets with us, we want to understand who they are, and again, it's less questions or items we need to gather around their numbers, their income, their debts, their assets. Those are important, but we're also trying to figure out what their behavioral financial like DNA is. Like they've come into our office, they've met with us via Zoom, and they have a history. They're coming in here from somewhere. I just said, Brett, the other day I had a great example. Within a week span of a review meeting with clients, I had one client who very clearly shared with me that he wants to spend every dollar he can when he can. He's totally living the live for now moment, right? Because his parents had saved. And then like 7 months after he retired, his dad passed away unexpectedly. Mom went 2 years later. So his view of money was very much like, I want to spend it. I understand saving, investing, but I want to spend it. And literally the week later, I was having a review with a client. We were talking about estate planning and legacy planning conversations. And through that discovery it was a newer client, we were realizing that their parents were 97 and 99 years old and in full health. So in their mind, they were so focused on longevity. And so it was just a great example of two polar, opposites when you talk about planning. And it's a great example and a story to share that we're all different. And I think the way we treat money needs to be different as well. And so that enters into the psychology of how we individually perceive money, what it means to us, what we want from it. And ultimately, we want to end up the one thing we all know we want is time. It's the one commodity in life we can't get back. I speak about it often. My one parlor trick is I can tell someone I can prove to you that you care about time more than money, because if a 95-year-old today came to you and said, hey, man, I'll trade you places. I'll give you $10 billion and I'll trade you places permanently. And I would ask someone, would you do that? The answer would likely be no. If you're 60 years old and you answer that question, you would lose 35 years of your life. Time matters more. And so understanding your why, understanding where your, not just psychology in general, by the way, there's plenty of studies on that, but your psychology. And I think a good advisor can ask the right questions, get into the mindset, help you understand your goals and objectives with money, because most clients come in, they're not entirely sure, right? So we want to help them get to that point by asking the right questions, understanding who they are, meeting with them kneecap to kneecap, empathizing with them, understanding their story, because everyone has a financial story. Some people grew up on food stamps. Some people grew up on silver spoon. We want to understand there's two different walks of life out there, many different walks of life, frankly. So I think the psychology of money plays into the right questions being asked in an introductory meeting with an advisor, and then ultimately how you would then prepare a financial plan or overall invest your overall portfolio. It also plays into things like taxes and all the other items that we go through.
Yeah, we'll dive into that. So that's amazing. What are the first secret to start out with? And it's really about what's your why, right? So if you're listening to this, what is your why? Have you defined your why? Have you written down your why? Have you been reminded of your why? Are you thinking about your why? You're setting goals behind your why. And are you planning to achieve your why? And if you haven't defined that or reviewed that, it's not just the the quantitative, right? The numbers, right? It's the qualitative. It's the interest, the goals, the values. Money is a tool, and really, what's your behavioral money DNA? Is that a fair summary, Mr. Brad Barrett?
Yeah,